Taking a look at the latest high school football rankings courtesy of Max Prep. IMG Academy stays at #1 after having the past week off. The biggest mover inside the top 10 was Duncanville, improved to 5-1 after beating Cedar Hill 28-14. Looking at the teams from 11 to 20, Colquitt County is now the first time outside of the top 10. They crushed Tift County 41-0, improved to 7-0. Our biggest mover of the week, though, however, was Allen out in Texas. All right, let's welcome in our Max Prep experts to join us now. And Director of Programming Steve Montoya, and National Football Editor Zach Poff checking in here on HQ. And guys, we just saw Allen's rise in the rankings there after their big win over Denton Guyer. And Zach, I want to know, how impressed have you been of the Eagles this year so far?
Super impressed, man. I mean, there was a lot of question marks going into the season for Allen because they didn't have a lot of returners coming back. But they've answered all those questions big time. I mean, they've scored at least 42 points in every single game. And last week's 56 spot on Denton Guyer was super impressive. Because you look at Guyer, man, they got a bunch of D1 dudes, but Allen dominated that game from the start. It was their 80th consecutive regular season victory for the Allen Eagles. The last time they lost a regular season game was all the way back in 2012. And you just look at all the weapons they got on offense. You got the Green Twins at wide receiver. General Booty's been a big-time quarterback this year. You got Jordan Johnson, a Hawaii commit in the backfield. He's having a huge season. The defense been playing lights out. What a weekend for Allen, too, man. They get that big win, and then Kyler Murray on Sunday throws that Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins. So things going really well for Allen right now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, man, you can't count Allen out. I want to see how far this team can move up the rankings because they started, at 24. Now they're already up to number 12. This is a team, if they roll and win out, you could see this team all the way up in the top 5, maybe even the top 3 in the country. This team can score. And speaking of Kyler Murray, his senior year, their team averaged 49 points a game. This team right now has been averaging 53 points a game. I'm just saying, you never know. We'll see how far they can get.
All right, to work our way down the rankings here, we got a couple of new teams joining the fold, and St. Xavier, as you can see, out of Ohio, and Cathedral in Indiana. And Steve, let's start with Cathedral here. They're now 11-1 on the season after beating Whiteland in a 5A quarterfinals there. What led you to kind of include them in the rankings this week a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting because you actually have to look at the state of Ohio, and you may be wondering, well, how's an Indiana team? Why does it matter for what happens in Ohio? But it's a big deal because St. Xavier ended up rolling in the Division I state championship, and they knocked off a previously ranked Pickerington Central 44-3. And if you look back, Cathedral beat St. Xavier earlier in the year. So that's a big time win for Cathedral. And Cathedral's only loss was by 5 points to number 19 Center Grove. So, Zach, that's a huge reason we moved them up into the rankings this week.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of those things, man. St. X got the dub, won the Ohio Division I state championship. That's one of the hardest things to win in high school football. And then you look back at Cathedral's win against them, so that really factored into them jumping in the top 25 because they've been just on the outside, in that next 5 group, 26-30. So they've been kind of knocking on the door. It's finally we had to let them in. And, they also have wins against LaSalle, another Cincinnati powerhouse, a team that won a Division II state championship last year, and they made it all the way to the semifinals this year. And another team in the Ohio Division I bracket, Elder, another big-time program from Cincinnati. So they're 3-0 against big-time teams from Cincinnati, on top of playing the best teams in the Midwest in Indiana. And you got to give a shout-out to the quarterback, man. This kid can sling it, Nathan McCahill. This kid's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country. He's been showing out big time this year, and they got 2 more games left in the season if they want to win that 5A state title. I expect Cathedral to bring home the state championship for the first time since 2014 this year, too.
Cathedral checking in at 21 after improving to 11-1. The other team we kind of mentioned in the rankings this week is St. Xavier out in Ohio. They got a big win over Pickerington Central in the Ohio Division I state championship. Zach, just how impressive was that win for them?
You can say that's the most impressive win of the season. No team has put 40 points on the board against Pickerington Central since 2013. So what St. X did to Pickerington Central in the Ohio Division I state championship game was one of the most impressive things we've seen all year. I would rank that right up there with the Colquitt County win against Lowndes. Those are the two most impressive wins for me this year. And it was just from the start, man. It was 30-0 after the first quarter. Everything was clicking for St. X. You know, Coach Beck, he's one of the best in not just Ohio, but in high school football. They got a bunch of ballers, man. Brogan McCahey at quarterback. He's one of the most underrated dudes in the class of 2022. Jalen Patterson, too, at wide receiver. He had 4 first-quarter receiving touchdowns. And then Liam Clifford's really the guy that's been the leader for St. X this year. He's a 2021 Penn State commit at wide receiver. The defense balled out, too. You know, Gabriel DeBose is one of the best defensive players in the country. He had a huge game on defense and on special teams, too. So, you know, St. X had 2 losses on the year, but you can erase all that when you win the Ohio Division I state championship, and especially when you beat Pickerington Central, you know, a program that won the D1 state title game last year, and we're going for their 3rd and 4th year. So very impressive what St. X did, and easy to put them in the rankings this week.
Yeah, and an exciting time right now because states are wrapping up, so you get state championship games. We have a couple more teams in the top 25 finishing out this week. Number 8, Corner Canyon, is going for a state championship in Utah. And Ohio wraps up. Number 17, Archbishop Hoban, will play in a state championship this weekend as well. So comes down to, it doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. It all comes down to who wins that state title. So we got some exciting times coming up here in high school football.
All right, more ahead. Zach Poffin and Steve Montoya, as always, dropping those gems in the high school rankings. Appreciate it as always, fellas. Take care. Don't forget, though, there's no shortage of high-quality high school football games this weekend. They just mentioned it, beginning with the number 1 team in the country, IMG, concluding their regular season. We also have a couple state championships in Ohio and Utah, while 2 of the top teams in Arizona face off as well. Make sure you head over to maxprep.com for the full breakdown of all these games.